Oops.
Well, welcome to the Trey McLean Show. I am Trey McLean, the former Podfather, as it were be. But I am joined by a gentleman who I've gotten to know for a few years through the Cal State Sports Show, where he's the co-host with Sonny Clark. I, of course, am one of the misfits, but, hey, whatever. I'll be a misfit. But he is the one and only Cuervo. Mario, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good, Trey. Thanks for having me on, man.
Obviously through our show, we talk a lot of Dallas Cowboys, Chicago Bears, NFL, whatever we talk about. But there's obviously a story behind you. How did you get to be where you're at today? And looking through your Facebook and getting to know some of the things I've seen, clearly you spent some time in the military. I don't touch base on that a little bit. What made you want to join the Marines?
Yeah, so you know what? I'll start with my older brother. He's about 5 years older than me. So when he was finishing high school, I was getting ready to get into high school, and he had made the choice to join the Marines. And like most of us, we want to follow in our big brother footsteps, and that's kind of what I did. I was like, once I started learning what the Marines was about, it was something that caught my attention. I was like, okay, I could see myself doing this too. And so throughout my time in high school, he was in. I didn't really get to talk to him much. Obviously, now I understand why, but I really saw what it did for him. I saw how it changed him, and I knew probably, ninth grade going into 10th grade, I had made my decision already about what I was going to do after high school. So, I was one of those kids that when the recruiters come to the schools and those ones that want to talk to the recruiters and they want to just sign up already. And but the recruiter was like, dude, you can't join yet. So, you got to wait till you're 17. So I had to wait my turn, and finally it came time for me to join, and my mother actually signed a parental consent for me to join at 17. So that's how I wound up, where I was at as far as joining the military.
What'd your mom think about you joining the military along with your brother?
So my brother was for a moment, I think he tried talking me out of it, not the military, but just the Marines, because of how rough it was. My mother, of course, wanted me to try the college route. And I told her, I said, Mom, I was like, I'm barely, doing what I got to do to finish high school. I had to take a couple of classes outside of my high school to gain the credits I needed just to graduate and be able to join. So I knew that school wasn't for me. Once I was done with high school, I wasn't going to even try to pursue college right away. So, but once I got in and she saw what it was doing for me, I think she was really happy with the decision that I made.
What was your expectations going into boot camp than it was when you actually went through it? I mean, how different was it for you?
I mean, my expectation was, to, change who I was, and then that's one of the biggest things I was looking for. One of the biggest things, and I don't really mention it to a lot of people or talk about it too much, but one of the biggest reasons I decided to join was I wanted to be somebody in life that was respected and, treated with respect. So I saw the Marines as an opportunity to do that. And, that's kind of what I was hoping for, was to become, them to mold me into somebody that was going to be a respected person and also give respect, because, like the saying goes, when, to get respect, you have to give it as well. So the Marines definitely taught me both ways, to command it as well as give it. So, that was one of my biggest expectations, was to earn the respect of others, as well as, learn how to be respectful to others. You know, uh, health wise, I mean, obviously, being in the military, you got to be in shape and all that. So I'm glad it did that for me. Um, and other opportunities, things like traveling, not having to worry about how am I gonna make money, because I mean, you get paid salary when you're active duty, so that was never an issue. But other than that, I mean, I just wanted to do something different, something different other than just working a 9 to 5, or trying to go to school and get into all this student loan debt and all that. And I wanted to have a different path. So that's
I remember when I went through wrestling school back when Chris Adams ran his school. His job was to burn us all out, to have us all, pay our money up front and then just push us out the door because he's got our money and he's going to see how long you're going to last. What was boot camp like for you? I mean, was there ever a moment where you felt like this is way too much, I'm weighing over my head, or did you feel like this was right for you?
the first week, and I think it's like that for everybody, because it's such a shock, because you don't really know what you're getting into until you're actually there. So when you first get there, you go through what's called receiving week. So you're going through like all of the administrative stuff. You get all your paperwork is correct for your records, and you're getting all these different shots, vaccinations, and so that's the first week, and you're like, okay, this ain't so bad. And then you meet some drill instructors who they're 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 hard on you, but they're still kind of like, just kind of getting you to do what they need you to do. And then Black Friday comes, the Friday that you meet your actual drill instructors and you get assigned to your platoon. And that's when all hell breaks loose. And, it's just drill instructors screaming everywhere, recruits screaming everywhere, everybody's running around. It's just complete chaos, dude. And so it hits you the first, after the first few days you're there. Once you go through Black Friday, that first week, after that, you're kind of like, what the fuck did I get myself into? And like, do I really want to do this? And so it just, but once you kind of adjust to it and you get used to it and you understand what it's about, everybody just kind of goes with the flow of the everyday, training. So so this is the first week for sure.
When did it click for you exactly? I mean, when was those typical moment that you had where you sat there and went, okay, that's how I can survive here?
Yeah, it basically, once you understand that all you have to do is just do what they tell you and do it as fast as you can. If you could do those two things, then you can survive Marine boot camp.
That's the funny thing is, where I work at, I have people sitting there and going, it's the same thing all the time. It's this, that. I'm like, just be passive with it. Look, just do what they say, just move on. Time's gonna move on. You get off your shift and be good. So
That's it, man.
I mean, it gets to be pretty simple. When you simplify things like that, I think it makes things a lot easier. I mean, obviously, being in the military, having worse things happening to you than something's going to happen in a 9 to 5 job. I mean, things that you have to do that you were never going to be signed up for a regular job to do. Now all of a sudden you go, okay, well, this is what I have to do: A, B, C, D, and E, F, G. Just do the alphabet as you go and get it all done. And you're good to go, right?
Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, once you uh get into the room, plus too, like what's coming as far as that next week, because you're on a schedule the whole time, so it's not like they just make up things to do while you're there. I mean, you're on a schedule. So week one, it's the same thing for everybody that goes through recruit training. So week two, week three, week four, sorry, dogs are barking out there, but yeah, it's on a schedule, and a lot of times they'll let you know what is happening the week prior. Like, hey, this is going to come up next week, so you kind of know what to expect. And I think one of the biggest ones that a lot of people got nervous about was swim quality, because not a lot of people know how to swim. So
That surprised the
that
hell
was,
out of me. And the more I've
yeah.
been on my own going, you don't know how to swim? Because like I have a daughter who's a world class swimmer, and
So,
she and but my grandmother was a world class diver, so they kind of they kind of intertwine with each other. And I can swim too, and everybody in my family can swim. I was surprised to find those who can't.
yeah, and to be honest, like growing up, as I didn't really, I wasn't really in pools a lot. Like I actually
That's probably
started barely learning how to swim right before I joined, and then while I was in, it was just kind of like, dude, just do it how they're telling you to do it, and you get through it pretty easily. So, um, but I was surprised too, like how many people just couldn't do it.
so. Where all did the Marines take you to? I mean, I had a buddy of mine. He served 20 years in the Navy. He's been all over the world several different times. He was a firefighter. So I mean, that was what he wanted to do out of high school, and he followed that through the military, and then did that for 20 years. Now he's lived up in Connecticut, or I think at least up northeast. I'm sure it's in Massachusetts, Connecticut, something like that. But what where all did the military take you to go?
Yeah, you'd be surprised, man. Like I didn't get to go to as many places as a lot of guys do. The Marine Corps, we're kind of limited on where we can be stationed, but uh, and I missed out on some opportunities to do things where I can go to more countries. But I did go twice. I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. I did some training in South Korea, so I got to experience that. Um, Obviously, my deployments overseas to like Iraq and Kuwait. I didn't get to go to Afghanistan, but I definitely spent a lot of time in Kuwait and Iraq. Um, Spent a lot of time out here in California. I recruited in Chicago. I actually got to go back to Chicago as a recruiter for 3 years. So that was uh, that was nice, while it lasted. But other than that, I mean, I don't know if you can really count it, but through deployments when you make stops in places. I mean, places like Germany and Ireland and things like that. So I mean, I got to see those places, but never got to really explore them or anything. I think Italy once too. We stopped in Italy on a layover, so quite a few places.
Is there any regrets for places you could wish you could have went to?
Oh, places I wish I could have gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say probably I would have liked to gone to like somewhere like Australia. That I've heard a lot of nice things about Australia. I actually would have liked to go to Afghanistan, because a lot of guys I know got to go, and some of the experiences, with deploying or whatever, it's different than being in Iraq. So I kind of wish I would have gotten on an Afghanistan deployment, but uh, a lot of times these guys when they go on what's called a MU, the Marine Expeditionary Unit, where you get to go work with other militaries and stuff like that, and um, a lot of times they go to places like Singapore or Thailand. Um, they go to where else? Sometimes they'll go to like other places too, like China, like Hong Kong. They go to China. They go to the Philippines. I would have liked to go to the Philippines, just kind of experience what it looks like out there. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely places I wish I could have gone to. I just didn't get the opportunity.
So your time in the military is over. You've been places, you've done things. How much did that change you moving on to a regular life after that?
Yeah, it was a big adjustment, man. Like, you know, doing something for 20 years, it's just like when we talk about on Sundays with Sonny, when we're talking about, athletes, NFL, Major League Baseball players, even, guys that are in the wrestling business, when you're in something for so long and that's your life, and now the day comes where it's no longer your life, that's a tough pill to swallow. Like it was hard. And a lot of people go through it too. What's really helped me though is, um, I have a contracting job, right here on Camp Pendleton, the same base that I was at, right, as I retired, the base that I retired out of. And working with guys that I served with in the past, it's really helped me to transition out of the everyday active duty life. So, but for guys that don't have that opportunity, that they just go back to where they came from, or if they decide to move somewhere else where there is no military base anywhere, where nobody that they serve with lives in that area. The ones that I've talked to, some of them are just kind of like, they just kind of leave that behind them, but some of them, they do have a hard time, and they do miss it. And um it's position, but it changed me, uh you know in a way that I just had to accept that wasn't who I was anymore. Like, yeah, that it is still with me, it's always going to be with you, but wearing the uniform every day, you just got to accept that that's not what you do anymore. It's still part of who I am, but it's not what I do every day.
You and I were talking this past Sunday about mental health and everything else that's gone on. Obviously, a lot of soldiers who have gone in the military, they deal with their PTSD. They got a lot of things that are kind of, in the back of their head that still kind of, messes with them every once in a while. And we kind of got into a little bit of conversation about mental health. Where do you see the military being a big factor with helping those who dealt with mental issues that come out of the military?
Yeah, man, like, some people deal with it better than others. Um, and a lot of people will tell you that we're not doing enough to help those veterans. We're not doing enough. There's not enough organizations. There's not enough uh, resources to be able to help veterans with their mental health. That part you can argue that you may think that may be true, but I also think we got to help ourselves too. And a lot of veterans, they struggle with wanting to ask for the help, because in their minds, if they ask for help, they're weak. They're it's they don't and they don't want the help. So it shows a sign of weakness to them, and that's why a lot of times they'll just try to deal with it themselves. And sometimes it could just take another, a buddy to just talk to them, or you know kind of reconnect with somebody that you once served with. But you know it's not always about trying to uh, have all these different resources to help people. We got to we got to be willing to uh, receive the help as well. And I just don't think I think sometimes as veterans we make that mistake of not wanting to get the help that we need. And unfortunately, for some guys it's too late. I've lost more friends to suicide than anything, and it sucks, but um, you can't help but a very, very, very small part of you can't help but be pissed off at them, because it's like, dude, we get taught that so much. It gets drilled into our heads. Like, if you need to talk, just talk to somebody, man. Reach out to someone that you deployed with, or somebody that you served with, whatever. And just be like, hey man, what's up? you know just wanted to talk to you, whatever. And sometimes that's all it takes to save somebody. you know and But I just don't think that as veterans we do enough to help ourselves.
I think a lot, like I know, like for my situation, I was dealing with a lot of anger issues about 5 years ago when I moved, when my wife and I were separating, and I just, the mess I was living in, and the fact that I had no control over that, and it angered me to no end, and my kids saw it. I was never violent, but I was always just angry. And eventually, I went and got help. I mean, it took me a while. It took me a while to swallow that pill and go, I need to go talk to somebody who doesn't know who I am, doesn't know my situation. Now they'll get to know a little bit about that, but I mean, maybe help me put the right tools in place to deal with things on a better, with the better aspect than I was dealing with. And it's amazing how people just are so, they turn a blind eye. They're going, I'll just figure it out. I'll take pills. I'll be all right.
Right.
And I mean, in like, and we see, we got into this conversation on, when you see, kids getting bullied in school, and then, and they're tormented by it, and they can't go see anybody about it because parents don't know any better when it comes to their kid, when it comes to, well, just, they'll either overparent them or underparent them. There's no in between in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember as a kid, I was bullied. I stuttered a lot. I still stutter every once in a while. And I mean, I was 140 pounds soaking wet. I mean, I was not nearly an athlete that I wanted to be, and didn't fit into a lot of circles or a lot of places. So I was picked on a lot, right? So had I had the help then, I don't know how much that would change my outlook down the road going forward as an adult, because I used all that information, all that anger I had then, to become a wrestler. To have an outlet for that. And I learned to overcome most of the stuttering with promos and with cutting, getting in front of a live audience and talking to them and this and that. And, it's amazing what can really help a kid out with that kind of stuff. And I always figure, just talk to somebody, even if it's just, it's just someone you don't know. Obviously don't talk to strangers, but, but like, go see someone who can, like, sit there and actually listen to what you're going to say and not interrupt you and let you just spill your brain out, so you to know what kind of person you're dealing with. That helps out more than I think. But,
yeah, no, you're absolutely right, dude. And that's the other thing too. It doesn't have to be a like a therapist type thing where you got to go see a therapist and they ask you a shitload of questions. Like, some guys, they'll get annoyed from that. Sometimes you just need somebody to hear to hear you out. And that kind of sounds like what you needed, when you were going through your things that you were going through. But man, I just need to get some shit off my chest. And for some guys, that's all it is, whether it's bringing up back, some old memories of things, or just getting things off your chest about things you've gone through. Like, sometimes that's all it takes. It doesn't have to be a therapy session where you're getting bombarded with dumbass questions. It could just be, like I said, just hear me out. Like, give me like 5 minutes. I need to get some things off my chest. So, and then the other part you mentioned too, because it kind of like, when you said it, I thought about it. Medications. So medications doesn't always solve things. Like, I don't, that some people think that it does.
It's big pharma. It's big pharma talking to is what it is. Yeah,
right.
You need this to deal with that part of your brain. You need this to deal with that. Like, look, I get up. I take like 4 Advil right now to get rid of headaches, because I get them on a constant basis. Mm-hmm. And when you already do the show with Sonny, I got to take 8 of them because Sonny just yells on the mic. But by the way, gotta say the sports show every Sunday, everybody. But it's like, you got to take a pill for your blood pressure, pill for your cholesterol, pill for this, blah, blah. And so now I'm like, I take like 8 pills a day just to survive, and they always say, well, if you cut this out, this will happen. If you cut this out, this will happen. I'm like, but then I'm just a miserable human being. If I cut out A, B, and C, D, E, and F is going to really suck for me here soon. So, but you're right. I mean, but like, and like, therapists will sit there and look at a minor and say, oh, depression, sorry, here's a pill. You'll feel better.
Yeah. So medications for like blood pressure and things like that, completely understand. I have medication for, I have very little elevated blood pressure, so it's not strong, but
Lucky.
And then I got other ones for like headaches and stuff. But like when you start talking about medications for like mental health, because you think somebody's bipolar, or they try to diagnose you with all this nonsense like that, I start having problems with that, because sometimes it does more harm than it does help when it comes to trying to give somebody medications for PTSD or mental health, anxiety and all that stuff. Like, to me, I'm not always with that. But yeah, like yeah, I mean, that's not the thing for me. It's more about trying to medicate somebody for mental reasons.
Yeah, I think my issue, because I saw this in person with not like I said his name, but I saw someone just overly medicate their kids because it made them more tolerable to deal with, and I'm like, you're turning them into zombies.
Yeah.
You're literally just turning them into zombies, and and that's going to have a mental effect on those kids, because now they're putting all these chemicals in their body that's going to make them trigger certain things left and right. And
Yes.
I'm not saying this is what causes kids to bring guns to schools. I'm not saying this is what causes the issues we have with kids in schools these days.
Mm.
But you know, for some, there's a contributing factor. I mean, okay, case in point, you said you dealt with. I mean, people who have gone to the military, got PTSD. Um, how do if you can't just give them a pill to fix it, how do you fix it? Just because a lot of them might be too far gone. A lot of them might just need that one person to talk to them. One might need a team. I mean, it's really hard to tell.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, man. Like, for some guys, they get it worse than others. And for those guys, maybe some sort of medication to kind of keep their keep their nerves, kind of balanced out. Um, for some guys, yeah, I think that could be what you need. But there's a lot of, whether it's the VA or like outside organizations where, you know, veterans hanging out with other veterans, those type of things. You go to your local VFW, you might run into somebody that knows somebody that oh yeah, that's my nephew, or oh yeah, I'm his uncle, whatever. Like, it's a small world, man. So so speaking of my brother earlier, when we first started the interview, I was living in East Tennessee when I decided to join, and my recruiter, one of the questions that they ask you is, do you have any family that's in the military or was in the military? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, my older brother's in the Marines. And then he's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, I got a picture of him right here. And I'm all showing off and everything. I'm like, check this out, and he looks at the picture, and he says his last name, and then he starts like saying his name and what his job was and this and that. I was like, no effing way, dude. Turns out that my recruiter was one of his old bosses in North Carolina.
Mm.
One of my brother's bosses. Like, so my brother was an engineer. He was in the engineer field, and he my recruiter was his boss in the tool room. He used to run the tool shop. And so yeah, so then he told me, he goes, yeah, your brother used to work for me we were stationed in North Carolina together. And so so we're in the office, at the recruiting office in Tennessee, west side of Knoxville. And he I think I gave him his number. I'm trying to remember now. I think I had his phone number written down somewhere or something, or we looked it up. He calls him in the office, and he starts messing with him. He's like, yeah, this is the commandant of the Marine Corps. We're recalling you, this and that. And my brother knew right away who it was. And he goes, what do you want, Staff Sergeant? What's going on? He goes, hey, you'll never guess who I got in my office right now. And he's like, no, shut up. He's like, you got my brother in there? He's like, yeah. he's like, he's gonna be a Marine. So it's just kind of crazy how like it's just a small world where you run into somebody that either knew somebody like in this case with my brother, man. It was just what are the odds, right? Like, what are the odds that happens? So but going back to what we were talking about, you could be anywhere in the country, and you start talking to somebody, and you just never know who that person knows that you also know. So it's always good to just try and connect with other vets, and the possibilities are endless, man. You just never know who you run into. Like I said, it could be somebody's uncle, it could be somebody's dad, whatever the case may be. So um you know the worst thing to do is to keep it to yourself, and try to deal with it on your own. Like I said, too many of us that thinks that it's weak to ask for help, and we just got to stop thinking that way. There's nothing weak about it. There is no like, oh, suck it, like the old suck it up mentality. Like it did no good for people. And that's why you see a lot of older veterans struggling, because that was drilled into their head. It was like, "I'll suck it up. Don't you don't go to medical. That's for that's for pussies." And like, dude, look at them now. Look at them now. Years later, down the road, they struggling to just live
Well,
everyday life.
I mean, we have the same argument when we talk football, right? I mean, how many former NFL players walk around with CT issues, all because they rub some dirt in it and make sure that they go play the next play. I mean, we
Right.
speak, you know, your guy Walter Payton died earlier on because of whatever he was going on with his life. But I got to watch Tony Dorsett get progressively worse every time you see him, and. And I mean, Bill Bates, I mean, loved him to death as a player. They brought him out to the halftime thing about a year ago, and I had no idea he had CT issues, no idea. But he's barely functioning as who he used to be. Because I met him back when he played. He was like, he was an old Tennessee boy. He's good and talking to you, fun, this and that. And I mean, a hot wife and just several different kids, and all this other crap he had going on. And I went to his restaurant in Plano, Bill Bates' restaurant, to watch the Cowboys beat the Green Bay Packers, go to the Super Bowl 30, the last time they would go to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I remember seeing all of that, and now seeing him now and going, damn. And again, there's nothing you could really do to prevent it now, because he's stuck with it. But like, PTSD having the issue it has with veterans, I'm not saying NFL players are any different with CT issues being their own version of PTSD, because it all varies. But I mean, obviously the suicide rate is almost not as bad with CT issues yet. But I mean, then of course we see in wrestling, Chris Benoit had it and he killed his wife. I mean, there's a real thing with that, and former Pittsburgh Steelers players killing themselves over CTE. The movie's Concussion was based on that. Mike
Webster, the center from those teams with Bradshaw as the quarterback.
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, we all see, and the thing is that I hate that with big pharmacies, they're always about giving you the pill to make you feel better, but never the pill to cure it. There's never anything to ever cure anything. There's always something just to make you deal with it on a better with a better outcome.
To maintain.
Yeah, to maintain, and just so you don't feel miserable in the process. If farming get into, I mean, I know they'll charge an arm and a leg and this and that, and the insurance is one thing. It's a whole other mess. But because like I deal with my insurance with the Chickasaw Nation. I have a doctor in Texas. Now medications from Texas going over to the Chickasaw Nation, Oklahoma, they're invalid. I have to go to a doctor in Oklahoma to get those revalidated. So it's a big mess that I have to go through to get all that. So, and it's all for the same stuff. I mean, I'm still got high blood pressure. I still got cholesterol issues. I'm still on Ozempic. I mean, I still got things I need to get going here. Otherwise, I start to slide, And again, if they would make the one pill like Rob Williams had this joke saying, we need to have a drug that just takes care of everything called fuck it all. I don't want nothing. I don't need nothing. Fuck it all.
Yeah.
and he's the guy who could have possibly used it when he had his issue too. So clearly, you know, right? But anyway, man, Mario, Cuervo, whatever you want to call you, thank you so much for joining me on this first edition of the Trey McLean Show as far as my interview segments are concerned. Of course, you can see the two of us banter with Sonny Clark on Sunday's Couch Potato Sports Show. Times vary on that, depending whenever Cuervo wants to do the show or not. But, you know, because, you know, I'm one of the misfits. I'm there no matter what. I'm there to pay my dues, sir. But, you know, as I enjoy my second championship year this year. Thank you very much. Anyway, on that being said, name of our other show, that's going to do it for this show. Thank you very much for joining us. I do appreciate you, sir, and I do salute you 100%. And we'll see you soon.
All right, brother. Anytime. We'll do this again soon.